for about 10 years now. And I joined the industry because I wanted to be part of people that actually make sense of all of the service providers, products that are out there that can help in building the wealth and also the knowledge it takes to use those products correctly, so that people who also come from underprivileged backgrounds, unexperienced with regards to building wealth, can actually have the opportunity to learn in practical language how exactly it's done. That's such an interesting question because it forces me to take a step back. When we think about money and women and their ability to actually generate an income, that really started around the 1930s in South Africa. And they were predominantly household help. It's only literally around the 1980s where women were allowed to professionalize and were really seen at the same standard in terms of aggression around their careers, productivity, etc., as equivalent to the male counterparts. With that also came an evolution where women up until then, married women that is, were unable to open bank accounts without their husband's permission. It's only in the 80s where they began to be given that permission without their husband's consent. And even when you look at the transactional power they had in the 1980s under that new dispensation, it was actually quite minimal. It was accepting money and sending money. That's it. And so when we think about women and money and the investment goals and how far we are from where we should be, we need to hold the context of where we've come from and how far we've come in terms of revolutionizing our ability to create an income, but also spend our own money in the way that we want without our husband's permission. So I'm a single mom myself, so I can give you incredible insight on that. And I think one of the things that is overarching around mistakes that women make in general, whether married or unmarried, children or no children, is we don't do enough to be very focused on learning about money and being very strategized around where we're taking our money. And we can learn from men around that. But specifically to your question around single moms, I think one of the biggest mistakes is because we're so nurturing and because we feel like umntu ngabantu, and therefore if I'm not around, what's going to happen to my children? And so you kind of rely on the circle of people around you, and when they need help, you overextend yourself because you're thinking of one day when I'm not here, I would like these people to overextend themselves for my children. Instead of focusing on the power that is within you to actually set those very targeted money strategies that prepare for the day when you're not here. So you rely on those investment structures instead of relying on people. That's kind of the first money mistake. Secondly, women also that are single moms overextend themselves in terms of the debt they take on. Because remember, they're raising children that should have typically been raised by a two-salaried household. And now they are championing the lifestyle of these children or child plus themselves in an environment that only earns one income. And so to create that additional income stream, they take on debt, they take on credit, they go speak to loan sharks. There's so many things that they do to actually cope and also hold this realm of perfection. I've got it, when we don't actually have it. And so I think women need to be very deliberate about deciding that this debt trap ends here. It ends with me. It will not filter into my children. And therefore, I need to get a financial advisor that is independent and knows what they're doing, that's going to help me, coach me through the steps it takes to get out of this debt trap that I'm actually in. The last and often money mistake that I see single moms make is because they are trying to cope with today and tomorrow, they don't think about the future. So they under-contribute towards their retirement, which lands them in a situation where they've got too little money at retirement age, which then forces them to depend on their children to supplement their income. And then what happens is those children too under-contribute in their own retirement fund, and so that lack of retirement fund comfortability actually extends to the children's generation as well. And so we need to decide that we love our children enough to end that curse with us. So that's pertaining to the retirement fund. But also, single moms need to think about the cash injection they need in case of emergency. So they actually need a short-term investment bucket that they can access quite quickly. Because even though two-pot is coming to create that savings component or savings pot, it's actually not meant for those emergencies that you could have planned for. So for those emergencies that you can plan for, you actually need to set up a separate investment account that will enable you to actually access it quite quickly in case of those emergencies. The more people who are dependent on you financially, the greater your expense base, the greater your injection amount should actually be. So that's kind of how you gauge how much you should be contributing towards that savings or emergency savings account as well.